Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm at Stewart Longton's and I'm going to be filming something a little bit different. I haven't done it before, and I'm sat in a Charisma by Swift, and it's a 555. Now, I chose this particular caravan because I have a couple of viewers who are looking for a used caravan at the moment, and this is one that they particularly earmarked. Now, it's not a review, this is things to consider when looking for a used caravan. So you've spent most of your winter months touring around various caravan dealers, etc., and you've finally decided that particular model that you like is, so let's say this one as an example. But do you know what to look for if you're going to be buying it? And is there things that you might need to consider? So we're going to talk about that now. It's very important. When you think about it, they always say the biggest investment you'll ever make is your house. Your second investment is always your car. So this is probably the third investment that you'll ever make. They're not cheap, as we all know. I looked at loads of used vans before I decided to buy my van, and it was a minefield. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk about looking at the caravan that you've decided, and instead of thinking with your heart, think with your mind, because that's very important. You don't want to go rushing into things and decide that you've made a bad mistake because you didn't check certain things on the van. So we're going to start first of all on the outside of the van and what you need to look for, and we'll take it from there. Okay, so first thing we're going to talk about is the outside of the caravan. I know this is quite an important area, not that it just because it looks nice, but also there's some important issues to look at. So first of all, I would suggest that you open the locker at the front and you check the seal around, and also check inside the locker to make sure it's dry and there's no damp issues. Another thing is, make sure the locks work and the keys all match and it's all functioning properly. And just as important, in fact very important, is your hitch lock, electrical system and jockey wheel. Make sure that they're all functioning properly. So we've taken care of the front, the initial parts, which is just the locker and the A-frame and hitch. Also, check the panels. Make sure that all the panels are nice and smooth and there's no lumps or bumps or any repairs in them. That's quite key because you don't want water ingress. Then next, check all the windows. Check that the one open and close securely, and also the rubbers inside are also functioning properly and have not dried out and cracked, because this can be an issue with damp. Another point from security, again, the door. Make sure that the door closes properly, it fits into the frame, and also the lock works. And if there is windows in them, check that there's no damage to them, make sure they're okay. Now, as we've moved down the van, don't forget to check the tyres and the wheels, and check to see if it has a Alco wheel lock section. As you can see in this van, it does have one, which would help with security and reduce your insurance. Now, if you have hatches or lockers on the external part of the van, check those as well. Make sure the seals are working, and also that they function properly from a locking point of view. Now, the final thing on the outside, on this side of the van anyway, is the awning rail. Make sure that's nice and secure, there's no issues with it, and it's going to do its job. The back panel is very important. You need to make sure that that's all in one piece. There's no cracks or damage to it, and also that all the lights are also going to function properly and there's no damage to those. Now, I'll just say at this point, what you also need to do is don't be afraid to get underneath this van and have a good look at the floor. Make sure there's no damage to it. Make sure there's no repairs that have been badly done, etc. I know the caravan dealers do go through them with a fine tooth comb before they even purchase them themselves. but it's one to bear in mind because you might be buying from a private seller. So don't be afraid to get underneath it, get a torch and have a good look round. Another very important thing to check is also the toilet cassette. Make sure it works and there's no damage to it, because you're going to be shelling out quite a few quid if it does need repairing further down the line. So just check that and make sure it works properly. Okay, so you've looked outside and there's no issues there, and if there is, you can always point them out to the dealer. There might be simple fixes that can be addressed. Now then, we're now inside. Now this van is 9 years old. It's a 2010. So let's have a look at the interior and let's see what we need to look at in here. Now before we go and have a look, I've got to tell you two things that you need. In fact, three actually. You need three things when you're looking round a caravan. Number one is your eyes. Number two is very important, is your nose. And thirdly, your hands. These are very important tools when looking inside and outside of a caravan. The first thing I do when I open the door is I take a big deep breath. Does it smell damp? Very important if it does. Then you have to look round the van. So let's look at some areas where you would check. Okay, I would start at the front of the caravan and I would check the upholstery first of all. I would also lift up the seating, make sure there's no damage to the lats underneath and that everything's okay. I'd also have a quick route around underneath there, make sure it's clean and tidy, make sure it's been looked after and there's no issues on the underside of there. The next thing I would do is check the front locker, make sure all the drawers work, and if it has a pull-out lat system for the bed, check that that works, make sure it functions properly. Okay, we're going to open the cupboards now. I'm not going to open them all, but for demonstration purposes, go into the cupboard and look at the back, check the back panel, make sure it's nice and dry, there's no issues with it. Give it a bit of a poke with your finger, make sure it's solid. Okay, and also check that the actual cupboard doors function properly, the hinges work, and also the handle and mechanism that closes it. Now moving on to the kitchen, make sure that the bowl of the sink is nice and clean and actually crack free as well. They're only made of a form of plastic, so they can break quite easily, so make sure it works and it's functioning properly. Likewise with the taps, do they open and close? Now, I appreciate you can't use water with them, but still make sure that they function. Check the cooker, make sure it's clean and does it function properly? Are all the knobs and buttons in the right places? And does the oven look like it's been looked after? In this case it has. It's been very well looked after. In fact, I don't think it's been used. Okay, the next one is the fridge. Is it nice and clean? Does it look like it's been looked after? And does it smell? Again, we're going back to the nose again, because some people will not always defrost and clean the fridge out and leave the door open when it's in storage, and it's quite important because bacteria can build up in it. Now in this case there's no smell, I'm happy to report, and it looks like it's been looked after quite well. Now another appliance to consider is obviously the microwave. Now this one's nice and clean, it looks like it's been very well looked after, so there's no issues with that. But don't forget, have a look. Really important one in terms of your health and well-being and safety, and that is the heating system. Does it look like it's been looked after? Is there any damage? Check it, because if there is, you can raise this with the dealer, because it is a safety issue if there is. Okay, so we're moving into the bedroom. Now, mattresses. Some people have quite a lot of issues with mattresses. They're not particularly fond of having a second-hand mattress, which is fine, I understand that. But there are companies out there that will replace the mattresses for you at a cost. But check it, make sure that it's clean. Does it look like it's been misused? Because if it has, you might have to consider replacing it, and that's an additional cost, and the dealer will not replace it. They'll supply one, but they will not replace it. That's down to you. Also with the bed, check underneath it, make sure everything's where it should be and the gas struts work to hold the bed up so that you can use the storage inside. Have a look at all the piping system and anything else that might be in there. So we're just going to move into the washroom now. Make sure that the sink, because it's made of plastic, has got no damage to it, and that there's a plug with it. Also look around the area, just see if there's any signs of misuse where water might have been, because that bit's important, because otherwise items like this edge in here could have lifted because water's got behind it. So it's something to look at and consider. Okay, so moving into the shower and toilet area, have a good look at the line panels if they're lined. Do they still seal at the bottoms? And also, are there any cracks in the shower pan and the flooring area around the toilet? Check the toilet as well. Make sure that the plastic on the toilets is still in good order. Also, I'll go back to my nose again. Have a good smell. Does the toilet smell clean? Because it might not have had a regular check in terms of cleaning the toilet itself and also the cassette, and it can cause nasty niffs. So just have a check at that. This one smells very nice, which is good. Now this one has a shower blind here, screen. So make sure that that works too, and it's going to protect the rest of the bathroom when you take a shower. Just moving over to this side here, check that the shower is complete and it has a shower head and connection to the tap. So you've done all the checks that we've just had a look at. If you're not confident, don't worry. You can get an independent engineer to check the van for you. He will give you a written report as to all the safety checks and any damp issues. The dealer will also do damp checks prior to even buying this caravan when they've took it in, because it's usually a part exchange model. They will check that, and they will do a gas safety check as well. So they're important issues, and they will do them for you prior to this van leaving the yard. Now remember, don't let your heart rule your head. That is a very important issue that I know some people have fell into and then perhaps regretted it later. Also, don't be afraid to ask for a little discount. Perhaps there might be a couple of things that you've seen that might get you a little bit off the van that perhaps the dealers haven't considered at the time. It might help if you want to replace the mattress for a new one. Every little helps at the end of the day. Well, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate you dropping by and seeing us. If you've got any comments, please drop them below. You know I always answer my comments. But in the meantime, see you later and bye-bye for now. See ya.